Beneath Hollywood's golden glow lies a dark truth the studios fought to keep buried. From mysterious deaths and forbidden affairs to abuse, cover-ups, and scandals so wild they'd ruin careers, these are the secrets the industry never wanted you to hear. And it only gets darker from here. Number 1. Marilyn Monroe's mysterious death. Marilyn Monroe was more than a blonde bombshell. She was a living symbol of Hollywood's seductive magic. But when she was found dead in 1962 at just 36 years old, that magic shattered. Officially, her death was ruled a probable suicide from a barbiturate overdose. But the details were unsettling. Nude, face down, with a phone in hand and pill bottles beside her bed. No note. No fingerprints on the pill bottles. Whispers soon spiraled. Of affairs with John and Robert Kennedy, of sensitive political secrets, even of mafia involvement. The studio machine kicked in to frame it as a tragic accident. But decades later, it still doesn't add up. Number 2. Ingrid Bergman's affair and blacklisting. Ingrid Bergman was Hollywood's golden girl, refined, radiant, respected. But all of that collapsed when she fell in love with director Roberto Rossellini. Both were married to other people, but when she became pregnant by him in 1950, Hollywood turned on her instantly. The press branded her immoral. The U.S. Senate denounced her publicly. Studios cut ties. She wasn't just dropped, she was erased. What was once a celebrated career became a cautionary tale overnight. While Hollywood tried to bury the scandal, Bergman continued working abroad, refusing to apologize for falling in love. 7 years later, she returned with Anastasia, won an Oscar, and reclaimed the spotlight they tried to steal. Number 3. Charlie Chaplin's Teen Brides. Charlie Chaplin made the world laugh, but his private life was no joke. As his fame skyrocketed, so did scrutiny over his disturbing romantic history. He married Mildred Harris at 16 while he was 29. Then came Lita Gray, also 16, who he rushed to wed after getting her pregnant. Their divorce was a scandal in itself. Court filings described him as emotionally cruel, manipulative, and shockingly inappropriate. His final marriage was to Una O'Neill. She was just 18. He was 54. Studios worked overtime to protect his image, portraying him as eccentric but harmless. But behind closed doors, many saw a man who used fame to blur the lines of decency. Number 4. The Joan Crawford vs. Bette Davis feud. Joan Crawford and Bette Davis didn't just feud, they waged psychological warfare, and Hollywood scrambled to contain the fallout. These two titans of the screen hated each other with a venom that bled into everything they did. On set, Crawford allegedly put weights in her pockets to sabotage Davis during physical scenes. Davis once said Crawford slept with every actor in Hollywood, except Lassie. It wasn't just gossip, it was sabotage. And when Davis was nominated for an Oscar, Crawford secretly arranged to accept the award on behalf of another nominee, just to upstage her. Studios called it competitive tension. But everyone knew the truth. They wanted each other ruined. Number 5. Roman Polanski case. Roman Polanski was already an acclaimed director when, in 1977, he was arrested for a horrifying crime. He was charged with multiple offenses involving 13-year-old Samantha Gailey, including giving her alcohol and unlawful intercourse. The case was explosive, and the evidence damning. He accepted a plea deal, served 42 days, then fled the U.S. before sentencing when he suspected the judge would reject the deal. He never returned. The industry's reaction? Embarrassingly protective. A-list celebrities defended him. Awards shows honored him. Studios stayed silent. It became one of Hollywood's most shameful examples of choosing power over principle, and the stain has never fully washed away. Number 6. Loretta Young's secret baby with Clark Gable in the 1930s. Loretta Young and Clark Gable were both at the height of their fame. But during filming of Call of the Wild, Young became pregnant with Gable's child, an unthinkable scandal in that era. so the studio helped her vanish. She gave birth in secret, placed the baby in an orphanage, and later staged a fake adoption to bring the child home. For years, she pretended it was a stranger's baby. The public never knew. Even her daughter, Judy Lewis, didn't learn the truth until adulthood. It was one of the most elaborate cover-ups in Hollywood history, and it worked almost too well. Number 7. Judy Garland's studio abuse. Judy Garland was MGM's golden girl, but behind the curtain, she was a prisoner to the system. Signed at 13, she was given amphetamines to keep working and barbiturates to sleep. Her weight was obsessively monitored. Her meals were restricted. Her schedule was brutal. Studio handlers shaped her into the perfect on-screen image while ignoring her health and happiness. Judy smiled for the camera, but behind the scenes, she was breaking down. The abuse haunted her for life, leading to lifelong addiction and emotional trauma. Hollywood told the world she was difficult. But the truth? She was a victim, used, controlled, and discarded. Number 8. Elizabeth Taylor's serial marriages. Elizabeth Taylor's beauty and talent were undeniable, but her personal life became Hollywood's favorite soap opera. Married 8 times to 7 men, including a scandalous affair with Eddie Fisher, Taylor constantly made headlines. Studios rushed to spin her image, portraying her as a hopeless romantic rather than a homewrecker. When she married Richard Burton twice, the media frenzy reached new heights. Publicists carefully balanced scandal and sympathy, turning her heartbreaks into legend. Over time, her chaotic love life became part of her brand. But behind all the glamour and diamonds was a woman repeatedly thrust into the spotlight and shaped by the chaos around her. Number 9. George Reeves' mysterious death. George Reeves, best known as Superman, was found dead from a gunshot wound in 1959. The death was ruled a suicide, but the details didn't add up. No fingerprints on the gun. Guests were still in the house. Reeves had been romantically involved with the wife of a powerful studio executive, sparking endless speculation about foul play. Some believed it was an accident. Others thought it was murder. Either way, the studio system jumped into cleanup mode. Hollywood couldn't afford a scandal tied to its most iconic hero, so the official story was locked in. And the deeper questions were left unanswered. Number 10. Olivia de Havilland's lawsuit against Warner Brothers. In the 1940s, studios controlled everything, until Olivia de Havilland said no. Warner Brothers tried to extend her contract unfairly, using suspension clauses to trap her. She sued, and after a lengthy battle, she won. The de Havilland Law became a landmark ruling, limiting studio power and giving actors more freedom. Hollywood didn't celebrate, it panicked. Executives feared a flood of lawsuits. Publicists were told to keep it quiet. But behind the scenes, everything changed. Olivia became a quiet hero in the fight for artistic control, even if the studios tried to pretend it never happened. She cracked the system, and they never forgave her for it. Number 11. Walt Disney's meeting with a Nazi filmmaker. In 1938, German director Leni Riefenstahl visited Hollywood. Known for her Nazi propaganda films, she was widely shunned, except by Walt Disney. While other studio heads refused to meet with her, Disney gave her a personal tour of his studio just days after the violent Kristallnacht attacks in Germany. Hollywood buried the meeting quickly, fearing backlash from the Jewish community and American public. At the time, the U.S. hadn't yet entered the war, but anti-Nazi sentiment was growing. Disney's quiet hospitality to such a controversial figure didn't fit the clean, patriotic image he later embodied. So the industry pretended it never happened. Number 12. Errol Flynn's Statutory Accusations. Errol Flynn was the ultimate swashbuckling hero until 1942, when 2 underage girls accused him of sexual misconduct. The case shocked the public, and Flynn was quickly arrested. Warner Brothers, terrified of losing one of its biggest stars, launched an aggressive defense. Flynn's team painted him as a charming target for opportunists. The jury bought it. He was acquitted, but the scandal clung to him for years. Behind closed doors, Hollywood's fixers had worked overtime, suppressing damaging testimony and spinning the press. The industry's concern wasn't justice, it was profit. Flynn's reputation barely survived, but the message was clear. Image came before truth. Number 13. Fatty Arbuckle's Trial. Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle was one of the biggest silent film stars, until 1921, when actress Virginia Rappe died after a wild party in his hotel suite. Arbuckle was accused of assaulting her, and the media exploded. He faced 3 trials. The first 2 ended in hung juries. The third acquitted him, and even included a formal apology from the jury. But the damage was done. Studios pulled his films, theaters banned his name, and his career was over. Hollywood began enforcing moral codes to avoid similar disasters. Arbuckle's fall wasn't just a scandal, it was a turning point. The industry realized its stars could no longer behave with impunity. Number 14. Natalie Wood's Suspicious Death. Natalie Wood was Hollywood royalty, beloved for her beauty and talent. But in 1981, she vanished during a boat trip with husband Robert Wagner and actor Christopher Walken. Her body was later found floating near Catalina Island. The official story? Accidental drowning. But bruises on her arms and conflicting witness statements fueled doubt. The case was quickly closed, until it was reopened decades later when the boat's captain changed his story. Still, no charges were ever filed. Hollywood's response was muted. The studios quietly stepped away, eager to avoid renewed scrutiny. Natalie's death remains one of Tinseltown's most enduring and uncomfortable mysteries. Number 15. Clara Bow's Wild Rumors. Clara Bow was the original It Girl, fiery, fun, and wildly popular in the 1920s. But her fame came at a price. Gossip columns accused her of wild parties, public nudity, and affairs with everyone from producers to football players. One tabloid even claimed she had slept with the entire USC team. The stories were exaggerated, but the damage was real. Paramount Pictures, desperate to protect their investment, hired PR fixers to craft a cleaner image. They paid off tabloids, spun headlines, and buried negative stories. Bow's mental health declined under the pressure, and she eventually faded from the spotlight, destroyed by the same machine that made her. Number 16. Thelma Todd's Mysterious Death. Thelma Todd was a rising comedic actress in the 1930s, until she was found dead in her car, parked in a garage above a cafe she co-owned. The cause was carbon monoxide poisoning, and police called it accidental. But something didn't sit right. Todd had bruises suggesting a struggle, and her last known argument was with her ex-lover and business partner. Rumors swirled of mob connections and a forced silence. Hollywood rushed to focus the narrative on her tragic beauty, downplaying any suspicion of foul play. No one was ever charged, and the deeper questions surrounding her death remain unanswered to this day. Number 17. Paul Bern's death, Jean Harlow's husband. In 1932, just 2 months after marrying starlet Jean Harlow, MGM producer Paul Bern was found dead from a gunshot wound in their Beverly Hills home. A note left behind suggested suicide, but the scene raised eyebrows. Strangely, MGM executives arrived at the house before police, sparking suspicions of tampering. Some claimed a former lover killed him. Others believed the studio staged the entire setup to protect Harlow's reputation. The story made headlines, but the truth was heavily sanitized. Hollywood painted Bern as a troubled man who loved too much. In reality, the rush to preserve Harlow's image may have buried more than just a life. Number 18. Thomas Ince's Yacht Death. Thomas Ince was a pioneering producer known as the father of the Western. In 1924, he died under mysterious circumstances during a party aboard media mogul William Randolph Hearst's yacht. The official cause was heart failure. But rumors quickly emerged. Hearst had allegedly shot Ince, mistaking him for Charlie Chaplin in a jealous rage. The guests included some of Hollywood's most powerful names: Chaplin, Marion Davies, and gossip columnist Louella Parsons. Not one of them publicly challenged the official story. Hearst's newspapers suppressed the incident, and Hollywood let it go. Ince was quietly buried, and the truth, if there ever was one, was buried with him. Number 19. Hedy Lamarr's shoplifting arrests. Hedy Lamarr was once dubbed the most beautiful woman in the world, but beauty didn't shield her from scandal. In the 1960s, years after her Hollywood peak, Lamarr was arrested multiple times for shoplifting. The amounts were small, but the headlines were loud. For a woman once seen as pure glamour, and even credited with inventing technology that led to Wi-Fi, it was a stunning fall from grace. Studios and publicists worked to hush the stories, worried they would tarnish her legacy. But Lamarr's later years were marked by isolation and legal trouble. Her brilliance was real, but so was the loneliness behind the facade. Number 20. Patricia Douglas assault cover-up. In 1937, dancer Patricia Douglas was lured to an MGM casting party, where she was assaulted by a studio sales executive. She reported it to the police, one of the first women to publicly accuse a man of assault in Hollywood. The response? Silence. MGM's fixers threatened witnesses, tampered with evidence, and painted Douglas as unstable. The case was dismissed. Her name was smeared. Her career was over. For decades, the story disappeared completely, until a 2003 Vanity Fair expose finally brought it back into the light. Douglas was erased by force. And for nearly 70 years, Hollywood pretended it never happened. Number 21. Frances Farmer's institutionalization. Frances Farmer was a gifted actress known for her fiery spirit, and that spirit terrified Hollywood. Branded difficult, she was eventually declared mentally unfit and institutionalized in 1943. What happened behind those walls remains horrifying. Farmer later described being subjected to electroshock therapy, isolation, and possibly even a lobotomy, though that detail remains debated. Studios distanced themselves quickly, rewriting her image as unstable rather than mistreated. Her suffering was buried, dismissed, and forgotten by the very machine that once celebrated her. The truth only resurfaced decades later, turning her story into a grim reminder of how quickly Hollywood could silence a woman who refused to play along. Number 22. Greta Garbo's hidden relationships. Greta Garbo was known for mystery, an actress who wanted to be alone. But that image wasn't just personal preference, it was studio strategy. Garbo's rumored romantic relationships with both men and women didn't fit the moral standards of 1930s Hollywood. So MGM carefully crafted her public image as a solitary, enigmatic figure. Behind closed doors, Garbo had meaningful, private connections, including one with playwright Mercedes da Acosta, but the press never printed a word. Publicists silenced speculation before it could spread. Her real story was tucked away behind the allure of privacy. It wasn't just branding, it was survival in an era where truth could ruin careers. Number 23. Gloria Graham married her stepson. In 1960, Oscar-winning actress Gloria Graham shocked the public by marrying Anthony Ray, the son of her ex-husband, director Nicholas Ray. Years earlier, Nicholas reportedly discovered a teenage Anthony in bed with Graham while they were still married. The scandal nearly ended her career. Hollywood worked to shift focus back to her acting, but the tabloids wouldn't let go. The marriage added a layer of taboo that even studio spin couldn't fix. Despite the backlash, their relationship lasted over a decade. But the damage was done. Graham never regained her former stardom, and the industry quietly distanced itself from one of its most complicated stars. Number 24. Lana Turner's daughter killed her abuser. Lana Turner's beauty lit up the screen, but behind the scenes, her life was unraveling. In 1958, Turner's abusive boyfriend, gangster Johnny Stompanato, was fatally stabbed during a violent argument at her home. The knife was wielded by her 14-year-old daughter, Cheryl Crane, who claimed she was protecting her mother. Hollywood's PR machine shifted into overdrive. Publicists painted Turner as a victim, Cheryl as a brave child, and Stompanato as a dangerous threat. The courts ruled it justifiable homicide, but rumors of cover-ups and coaching never stopped. The studios couldn't risk losing Turner's star power. So the truth, whatever it was polished, packaged, and sold. Number 25. The Black Dahlia Murder. In 1947, the mutilated body of aspiring actress Elizabeth Short was found in a Los Angeles lot, cut in half, drained of blood, and posed with eerie precision. The press dubbed her the Black Dahlia, and the case exploded into public fascination. What made it even more disturbing were her rumored ties to powerful Hollywood figures. Some claimed she'd been seen at parties with producers, actors, and executives. But none of it could be proven. The investigation was messy, the suspects were many, and the studios wanted no part of the chaos. No one was ever charged. The case remains unsolved, and Hollywood still won't talk about it. And there it is. 25 insane scandals. Hollywood may dazzle with fame and fantasy, but behind the spotlight lies a legacy of secrets, scandals, and silent suffering. For every red carpet moment, there's a buried story the studios worked hard to erase. Some tragic, others twisted, all unforgettable. These weren't just rumors. They were real people, real lives, and real cover-ups. And while the industry has changed, the echoes of its darkest moments still haunt its golden past. As long as the cameras roll, the truth will keep fighting to break through the illusion. Because in Hollywood, what's buried doesn't always stay hidden.